Listen carefully to what I'm about to tell you. Inside your head at this very moment, a war is raging. A war that you probably don't even notice, but that defines every decision you make, every moment of weakness, every relapse. Plato, more than 2,000 years ago, already knew this. He said that within each man there are three brutal forces fighting for control, three voices shouting at the same time, three impulses that want to drag you in completely opposite directions. And here's what will shock you. Pornography feeds precisely the weakest of these forces, the one that should be chained in the basement of your mind, but that you've allowed to sit on the throne of your life. Think about your own reality for a second. How many times have you looked in the mirror and promised, "This is it, now I'm going to be different"? How many times have you sworn that you wouldn't fall into that trap again? How many times have you planned to be more disciplined, more firm, more in control of yourself? And yet, when that desire knocked on the door, and you know exactly what I'm talking about, you found yourself obeying like a slave. Not like a free man, but like a slave. This is the brutal scenario that Plato already described more than 2,000 years ago. He never saw a computer screen, never knew what the hell the internet was, never imagined that something like online pornography would exist, but he already understood the raw essence of the problem. When you let the lowest desire govern your life, you lose your freedom. You become a hostage of your own mind. And maybe that's exactly why you're here on day 7, because you've realized that these first days of NoFap aren't just a battle against any habit. They're a battle for your own soul, man. That's right, what you heard. For the deepest part of you that will decide whether your life will be guided by real purpose or whether it will continue to be dragged by animal instincts. What can you expect from this video? Today we're going to use Plato's sharp lens to see pornography in a completely different way. You'll understand what this brilliant philosopher said about the human soul, how he divided these internal forces that destroy you, and why this age-old philosophical struggle is exactly the same war you're fighting now. You'll see that it's no coincidence that you feel divided, as if you have two sides fighting a deadly battle inside your mind. Plato already mapped this battlefield centuries ago. And don't even think for a second that this is a distant academic talk, only for those who read dusty books. Not at all. You'll discover that his philosophy is practical, direct, cutting, and more current than today's news. Because in the end, the burning question is simple and haunting. Who is really in control of your life? Therefore, I'm going to give you a challenge now. Subscribe to the channel because this journey isn't just one video. Each chapter is a new weapon. Each reflection is sharp ammunition for the war you're waging against yourself. And leave in the comments what day you're on. It could be day 1 full of hope, day 7 still staggering, or day 30 already feeling the strength. Sharing this isn't just statistics, it's a public commitment. It's you putting your word on the line. Plato believed in a truth that will shake you. True freedom isn't doing everything you want. Freedom is having the raw power to say no when you need to. Today we'll understand together how this ancient vision can be the steel shield you need to win this fight once and for all. Who was Plato, in a few words? Before diving into the theory, let's situate who Plato was. No frills, no academic jargon, just what matters. Plato lived in ancient Greece, was born in Athens, was a disciple of Socrates and teacher of Aristotle. That alone says a lot. He's in the middle of the most powerful triad in philosophy. If philosophy were a tree, Plato would be one of the main trunks that support everything. But what matters to you, who are here trying to overcome an addiction, is to understand what Plato was looking for. He didn't write to complicate things. He wanted to answer a simple question. How should man live? What does it mean to live well, to live for real? For him, living well wasn't giving in to every pleasure, but living in balance, in harmony, between reason, courage, and desire. Plato founded the famous Academy, a school where his students discussed ideas about politics, ethics, knowledge, and above all, about the human soul. But don't be fooled. When he spoke of soul, he wasn't just talking about religion or spirituality. He was talking about the center of life, what drives our choices. And here comes the practical part. Plato looked at man and saw conflict. He saw that within us there are different forces fighting for control. He didn't romanticize this. He didn't say that every desire is good, nor that every desire is bad. He said that desire has its place, but it needs to be under the command of reason. And when it's not, life becomes chaos. This is where the connection with NoFap begins, because pornography is nothing more than desire out of control. It's the instinct taking the wheel, while reason is tied in the back seat. Plato never knew pornography, but if he lived today, he would see this addiction as a perfect example of how desire can destroy a man's soul. So remember this image. Plato isn't just a distant philosopher. He's a practical guide. He's here to show you that your struggle isn't new, that men thousands of years ago already knew that the greatest battle isn't outside but inside, the theory of the tripartite soul. Now let's get to the central point, the famous theory of the tripartite soul. Plato said that the human soul has three parts, not one, not two, three, and they live in constant tension. The first part is reason. It's what seeks the truth, what seeks order, what looks to the future and says, it's worth waiting, it's worth sacrificing, it's worth staying focused. Reason is the pilot who tries to guide life towards purpose. The second part is spirit, not in the religious sense, but in the sense of courage, honor, pride. It's the fire that makes you stand up when you're challenged, that gives you anger in the face of injustice, that fuels bravery. When the spirit is aligned with reason, you become firm, resilient, able to face difficulties. And the third part is desire. This is the one that seeks immediate pleasure. It's the instinct that asks for food, sex, comfort, quick relief. Plato didn't say that desire was useless. He knew that we need it. After all, without hunger we don't eat. Without impulse we don't reproduce. The problem is when desire wants to govern alone. Now think about the addiction to pornography. Which of the three parts does it feed? It's not reason, it's not spirit, it's pure, raw, blind desire. Each click, each video, each session alone is as if you were handing over the keys to your life to the weakest part of your soul. Plato described the soul as a battlefield. On one side, reason trying to guide, spirit trying to support. On the other, desire pulling down. And depending on who wins, your life takes completely different directions. If reason governs, you become free, able to live with purpose. If desire governs, you become a slave, even if you think you're enjoying life. This is the picture that Plato painted, and that today you can apply directly to your fight against pornography. Because when you feel that one part of you wants to stop, but another part begs to continue, that's exactly what he was talking about. It's not madness, it's not contradiction. It's the tripartite soul in action. And the big question is, who will win? The role of reason, Plato said that reason is the noblest part of the soul. It's what sees beyond the moment, what doesn't let itself be dragged by blind instincts. Reason is what makes you get up early, even without wanting to, because it understands that there's a greater reward later. It's what holds your tongue when you want to say something that will hurt someone. It's what reminds you that every choice builds a future. Now, apply this to pornography. When desire screams, reason tries to speak. Hey, this won't bring you anything but emptiness. But the voice of reason is lower, calmer, less impulsive. While desire screams like a spoiled child asking for candy, reason speaks like a wise mentor, asking for calm, patience, vision. And the question is, who have you been listening to more? In NoFap, letting reason govern is like putting the right captain in command of the ship. Because the sea of temptation is rough, the waves of dopamine hit hard, and if there isn't someone lucid at the helm, the boat capsizes. Reason doesn't promise immediate pleasure, but it promises lasting freedom. It doesn't offer you that dopamine rush in seconds, but it guarantees dignity, energy, and clarity that last. Plato knew that if reason doesn't govern, life becomes chaos. Because if every desire is satisfied without filter, you live like an animal, not like a human being. Pornography is the perfect example of this. It steals the power of reason, puts desire on the throne, and leaves the mind in the background. But every time you resist, even if it's for a few minutes, you're strengthening the voice of reason. Think of it this way. Every no you say today is like weight training for reason. In the beginning it hurts, it seems useless, But over time, it gains strength, begins to impose itself, begins to become natural. And when reason is firm, even the strongest desires bow. So ask yourself now, who is governing your choices? The man who thinks about the future or the boy who only wants immediate pleasure? The path that Plato shows is clear. Either you let reason govern, or you will be governed by invisible chains. The role of spirit. If reason is the captain of the ship, spirit is the force that holds the oars, that faces the storm and doesn't back down. Plato described the spirit as the part of the soul linked to courage, honor, the inner fire that makes us fight when something is at stake. Without the spirit, reason may even know the way, but it doesn't have the strength to follow it. Imagine a general who knows the perfect strategy, but with cowardly soldiers. He knows what needs to be done, but the army doesn't lift a finger. It's like that when your reason knows that it needs to resist pornography, but the spirit doesn't appear to give courage. Now, when courage comes into play, things change. Reason points, "This is the way," and the spirit responds, "You can leave it to me, I'll handle it." It's this flame that gets you out of bed when the rational mind has already explained the reason, but laziness still insists. It's this fire that makes you take a deep breath and say, "Not today," when desire tightens. Pornography, however, weakens the spirit, because every time you give in, you send a message to yourself, "I can't." This message undermines your courage, reduces your self-esteem, and takes away the energy that should be available to face greater challenges. Instead of feeling pride, you feel shame. Instead of feeling strength, you feel defeated. But the spirit can also be trained. Every small victory against desire is a breath in this fire. When you resist for an hour, when you go through a night without falling, when you reach the end of the day standing even if tired, your spirit grows. You realize that you have within you a force that was dormant. Plato believed that when the spirit is aligned with reason, man becomes practically unbeatable, because he not only knows what he must do, but has the courage to execute. And that's exactly the point of NoFap. It's not enough to understand the problem, you need to fight against it. It's not enough to know that pornography destroys, you need to have the courage to resist. Today, ask yourself, is your spirit serving reason or desire? If it's serving reason, you're on the path to freedom. If it's serving desire, you become just a warrior who fights to satisfy his instincts. The role of desire. We have reached the most treacherous part of the soul, desire. For Plato, it's necessary but dangerous. Desire is hunger, thirst, attraction, pleasure. Without it, there would be no life. But when placed on the throne, it turns into a tyrant. And pornography is the coronation of this tyrant, because it offers exactly what desire likes most: immediate gratification, without effort, without apparent consequence. You don't need to conquer. You don't need to relate. You don't need to expose yourself. Just click, and cheap pleasure arrives like a delivery. But this pleasure doesn't come for free. It charges a high price. Your energy, your confidence, your ability to feel pleasure naturally. Plato would say that when desire governs, man loses his essence. He ceases to be guided by reason and courage and becomes a slave to instincts. It's no coincidence that after giving in to pornography, you feel empty. It's the soul recognizing that it has been dominated by the lowest side of itself. And see how this applies to your life. How many times have you stopped studying, working, socializing, because you were trapped in this cycle? How many times have you missed real opportunities because of minutes of artificial pleasure? This is desire in power. It promises the world, but delivers chains. But here's the good news. Desire can be controlled. It doesn't need to be eliminated. That would be impossible. But it needs to be put in its place. It can serve, as long as it doesn't govern. It can exist as long as it doesn't command. In NoFap, every time you say no to the click, you're reminding desire what its position is. It's not the king, it's the servant. It's not the owner, it's the helper. You need desire to live, but you need even more reason and courage to guide it. So remember, the problem isn't feeling desire. The problem is letting desire command you. And as long as pornography is the main source of pleasure, it will be on the throne. But every day that you resist is like taking the crown off its head and returning it to reason. The conflict within us, Plato didn't talk about an external enemy. He talked about the internal battlefield. And if you stop to think about it, that's exactly what happens to those trying to quit pornography. On one side, there's reason saying, this is destroying your energy, your confidence, your life. On the other, there's desire screaming, just today, just one video, you deserve some relief. And in the middle of it all, the spirit trying to decide which side to take. This conflict isn't a sign of weakness, it's a sign of humanity. Every man experiences this struggle. But some decide to let desire rule, and others choose to give reason the final word. In NoFap, you feel this battle every day, especially in the first few weeks. It's like having two armies inside your mind, one wanting freedom and purpose, the other wanting instant gratification. The question Plato would ask today is simple. Who governs your life? Who holds the reins? Is it the part of you that thinks about the future, or the part that only cares about the next 10 minutes? Because that choice defines not only whether you'll succeed in NoFap, but whether you'll succeed in life. Porn addiction isn't just about sexual desire, it's about the power dynamic within your soul. Every time you give in, you're saying, desire is in charge of me. Every time you resist, you strengthen reason. This is the daily training that transforms the ordinary man into someone disciplined. And yes, it will hurt. Desire won't go silent without a fight. It will insist. It will create excuses. It will manipulate you. But remember, every time you choose reason, you don't just avoid a click. You're reprogramming the internal hierarchy of your life. The chariot metaphor Plato used a powerful image. The soul is like a chariot pulled by two horses. One is obedient, strong, representing the rational and courageous part. The other is wild, untamed, representing desire. The charioteer, you, needs to control both. If you don't have firmness, the horse of desire drags the chariot into the abyss. Now, bring this metaphor to porn addiction. When you open the screen and let desire run wild, it's like releasing the reins. At first it seems fun. The horse runs fast, the feeling is of freedom. But soon you realize you're being led to the precipice. Because without control, momentary pleasure turns into destruction. Controlling the chariot doesn't mean killing the horse of desire, it means taming it. Desire is part of life, but it needs to be under command. And every time you practice NoFap, it's as if you're holding the reins more firmly. In the beginning, your arms ache, you feel like you're going to lose control. But with training, the horses learn to obey. Pornography is the perfect test of this metaphor. It shows in practice what happens when desire is in command. You lose direction, you lose energy, you lose purpose. The chariot of your life, which should be heading towards great achievements, gets stuck in circles, spinning in the same place. Plato would say, the true man is the one who can drive his chariot without letting the wild horse decide the path. And you? Are you in control or are you being dragged? Pornography as slavery to desire. Plato didn't live in the digital age, but if he were here, he would certainly say that pornography is the most sophisticated form of slavery to desire ever invented. Never before in history has the human being had access to infinite stimulation with one click. It's like giving the horse of desire unlimited food. It never stops asking for more. When you give in to this, it's not just pleasure, it's submission. It's handing over command of your life to the weakest part of the soul. Plato said that the man governed by desires is not free, he is a slave. And this slavery doesn't appear in iron chains, but in invisible chains: lack of energy, procrastination, shame, isolation. How many men today live exactly like this? From the outside, they seem normal. They work, they study, they go out with friends. But inside, they are chained to a habit that drains their vitality. And the worst part is that many don't even realize they are slaves. They think they are just enjoying something normal. But the reality is harsh. As long as desire governs, freedom is just an illusion. And what is NoFap if not an act of rebellion against this slavery? Each day without pornography is like breaking a link in the chain. In the beginning, you still feel the weight, you still stumble, but little by little, the soul begins to rise. You discover that you were not born to be governed by instincts. You were born to govern yourself. Plato would say, "He who does not control his desires does not own his own life." And in the modern world, pornography is proof of this, because it shows with clarity who is in command within you. The price of lack of self-control, Plato already warned, the man who lives dominated by desires is not his own master, he is a slave. And this slavery doesn't come from visible chains, but from something much deeper, the loss of self-control. Now look at your life. How many times have you said, "never again," and a few hours later, were repeating the same cycle? How many opportunities have you lost because you were tired, drained, without energy, after giving in to pornography? This is the price of lack of self-control. In the short term, it seems harmless. A few minutes of pleasure, a quick relief. But soon after comes the hangover, the weak body, the cloudy mind, the corroding shame. And in the long term, the impact is even more cruel. You begin to realize that you have lost the will to seek greater things. Studying becomes boring. Work loses meaning. Relationships seem too demanding, because unconsciously, the brain has learned that it can have instant pleasure without any effort. This price isn't just internal. It is reflected outside as well. A man who doesn't control himself doesn't inspire respect. You can hide your habit from others, but your body speaks. The sloppy posture, the lack of confidence in the eyes, the difficulty in asserting yourself. It's as if pornography imprinted an invisible mark saying, "This man is not his own master." Plato would say that desire, when it governs, transforms man into a servant. And that's what pornography does. It reduces you to someone who lives in function of a click, of an impulse. A modern slave without chains, but with the same lack of freedom. The good news is that this price isn't final. It only continues to be charged if you continue paying. Each act of self-control that you practice today is like recovering part of the debt. In the beginning, it's heavy, but each victory rebuilds your dignity, your energy, your confidence. The price of lack of self-control is high, but the value of discipline is even greater. Self-control as the path to freedom. If lack of self-control enslaves, self-control liberates. Plato believed that reason should govern desire, and that this hierarchy is what makes man truly free. This may sound contradictory. How can saying no to pleasures bring more freedom? But stop and think. Who is more free? The man who needs to run to the screen whenever he feels an impulse, or the man who can choose what to do without being dragged? Self-control isn't repression, it's command. It's not suffocating desire, it's putting it in its place. Sex, pleasure, stimulation, all of this has a natural space in life. But when it becomes the center, it becomes a prison. Self-control is the ability to look at desire and say, "You don't command me, I decide." In NoFap, each day is a training of this principle. Resisting an impulse isn't just accumulating days, it's proving to yourself that you are capable of governing your choices. And this sense of command overflows into other areas. Suddenly you realize that you can also say no to laziness, no to procrastination, no to habits that weaken you. Self-control, when practiced, multiplies. Plato would say that true freedom isn't doing everything you want, but having power over what you want. This is what separates men who get lost in their own desires from men who build legacies. When you resist pornography, you're not just avoiding cheap pleasure. You're training the rarest skill in the modern world, the ability not to surrender to the immediate. And the best part is that this self-control grows with time. Today, it seems difficult, but every time you practice, it strengthens. It's like weight training for the mind. With each repetition, the muscle of discipline increases, until one day, what seemed impossible becomes natural. Self-control isn't prison. It's the key to freedom. Courage as an ally. Plato said that the soul has three parts: reason, spirit, and desire. Reason must command, desire must be tamed, but the spirit, which represents courage and honor, is what gives the strength for reason to win. Without courage, reason even knows what to do, but it can't face desire. And this is where many men stumble. They know, rationally, that pornography destroys. They know that addiction weakens them, but in the moment of temptation, they lack the courage to sustain the decision. Desire screams, the mind tries to justify, and without courage, the man surrenders. It's like a general who has the perfect plan, but whose soldiers flee the battle. Courage in this context is more than bravery. It's resilience, it's enduring discomfort without giving up. It's facing anxiety, emptiness, insomnia, and still standing. Courage isn't absence of fear or pain. It's continuing even with fear and pain. And here's the truth. Courage is trainable. Every time you resist, even trembling, you train courage. Every time you endure discomfort for one more minute, you become stronger. The spirit strengthens when you prove to yourself that you can endure more than you imagine. Plato would say that the spirit must support reason against desire. And in NoFap, this means using courage to sustain the decisions that your mind already knows are right. The spirit is the armed arm of reason. Without it, reason becomes fragile in the face of desire. With it, you become unbeatable. So remember, courage isn't something you wait to feel. It's something you practice day after day. And the more you practice, the more it grows. With each impulse resisted, you not only strengthen self-control but forge a worthy spirit. Plato and the modern man Plato looked at Athens and saw simple desires trying to command. Too much food, too much wine, status at any price. If he appeared today, he would fall backwards. Infinite dopamine in his pocket 24 hours a day, with feeds that know his weaknesses better than he does. Pornography, then, would be for him the clearest example of imbalance. Pleasure without conquest, excitement without encounter, stimulation without meaning. It's as if the horse of desire had gained digital steroids and the reins had been thrown away. Look at the world around you. We have never had so much comfort, so much screen time, so much freedom. And yet we have never seen so much anxiety, so much apathy, so many drained people. This is no coincidence. When desire sits on the throne, life loses direction. Pornography does exactly that. It trains your brain to pursue only what gives a quick spike. The result is predictable. The simple loses its grace, the difficult becomes impossible, the future stops calling. You wake up, fulfill the basics, go back to the screen, turn off inside, and repeat. It's not moralism, it's mechanism. Easy experience teaches the brain to seek the path of least effort. The problem is that what is worthwhile in life never comes through the least effort. True relationships, a strong body, well-done work, living spirituality, everything requires presence, constancy, frustration here and there. If your soul has been trained for years to flee from frustration, at the first steep climb it asks for surrender, and you run back to the screen. This is the chariot without a charioteer. The modern man lives surrounded by shortcuts, videos, stories loops, notifications, fantasies on demand. Plato would say, don't confuse shortcut with path. Path is what forms character. Shortcut is what gives the illusion of arrival. And that's what pornography delivers, the illusion of intimacy, while distancing you from people. The illusion of power while stealing your energy, the illusion of freedom while tightening chains. But everyone does it, is the perfect phrase to keep the chariot going downhill. Plato would slam the table. It's not about everyone, it's about you. It's about governing yourself. It's about deciding that your soul won't be controlled by impulses. And for that, you need three things that he would repeat today without changing a comma. Reason in command, courage in the chest, and desire in the right place. Bring this to practice now. You don't need to become a monk, nor live in a cave. You need clarity. Pornography is a daily training of servitude to desire. You need decision. Today I close. You need constancy. Tomorrow I repeat. That's how a modern man uses an old idea. He doesn't keep quoting books, he changes his life. He doesn't pose as a philosopher, he holds the reins when the chariot pulls to the wrong side. If Plato sat with you at a table, he wouldn't ask, "How much have you read of me?" He would ask, "Who is in charge of you when the urge appears?" That's the question that decides the course of your story. And NoFap in the end is this, a real training of self-government, every day, starting now. Maybe you're watching this now in the silence of the early morning, with the room dark and the mind restless, the body asking for relief, the screen a few inches away, and you trying to convince yourself that just today won't make a difference. I know how it is. This is the time when many fall. This is the time when addiction likes to attack the most, because it knows you are alone, tired, and vulnerable. But it's also the time when you have the chance to prove to yourself that you are no longer the same man as before. Plato would say that, in this moment, it's the horse of desire that is trying to snatch the reins from your hand. It pulls, it screams, it promises quick pleasure. And reason, which during the day even seemed strong, now sounds weak, distant, like a whisper. It's in this exact instant that the spirit enters, courage. It's the fire inside you that needs to rise and say, "Not today," not because it's easy, but because each victory in the silence of the early morning is worth 10 in the middle of the day. Here, when no one sees, is where character is formed. You need to understand, resisting isn't just about avoiding the click. It's about writing a new narrative of your life. Each early morning in which you close the screen and choose to lie down again is like engraving in your mind, "I am in charge of myself." And this message will grow, repeating itself until it becomes identity. It's no longer effort, it's who you are. But for that, you need to win the battle of now. So, what to do when temptation tightens at this time? First, get up. Don't lie down fighting with your mind. The dark room is territory of desire. Turn on the light. Wash your face. Change the environment. Second, occupy your hands. Grab a notebook, a bottle of water, do some push-ups, anything that breaks the cycle. Desire is like smoke. When you move, it disperses. Third, say something out loud. It can be a simple phrase, "I choose freedom." The sound of your own voice has more strength than you imagine. It brings reason back to the conversation. And here's a detail that almost no one talks about. If you resist for 15 minutes, the impulse drops by half. If you resist for 30, it practically disappears. The wave seems infinite, but it isn't. It just wants to trick you into believing that it won't pass. Hold on tight for this time, and you will see that it loses strength. It's biology, not a miracle. Now imagine tomorrow, you waking up without regret, without shame, without that feeling of having thrown away your own strength, just for having resisted today. This feeling of victory is light but powerful. It's what will multiply over the days. You don't need to win the entire war now. You need to win the next hour, then the next, until winning becomes the new normal. So if it's early morning when you hear this, know, you are not alone. There are thousands of men going through the same struggle, facing the same impulses, carrying the same weight, and each one who resists opens the way for the other. You are part of this legion. You are not the only one, and this awareness is already halfway to not falling. Keep this phrase, desire screams louder when it realizes it's about to lose. So if it's screaming now, it's because victory is near. Hold on a little longer. It's not the end. It's just proof that you are exactly at the point where change happens. If Plato were here, he wouldn't waste time with beautiful speeches. He would point to your life and say, "Who governs?" Because in the end, everything comes down to that. It's not the internet, it's not the algorithm, it's not loneliness. It's you with the reins in your hand, reason in front, courage on the side, desire in its place. When this order is established, the chariot takes the right road, and there is no screen that can pull you back. So engrave inside you, pleasure is not master, it is servant. Will is not order, and discomfort is not punishment, it's training. Each no that you say today is not loss, it's construction. It's one more centimeter of freedom. It's one more brick in the identity of the man you are becoming. You are not just giving up a habit. You are choosing the life you want to live. Now I'm going to give you the most powerful tool you can take from this video. From now on, every time the impulse comes knocking on your door like a desperate demon, you will remember Plato's chariot. Visualize this in your mind, the firm reason holding the reins with an iron fist, the warrior spirit on your side like a loyal soldier, and the desire, yes, it will be there, strong, throbbing, but tamed, controlled, serving you, not commanding you. When that happens, you do the following. Take 3 deep breaths. Get up from that chair as if your life depended on it, change the environment immediately, and get back into the game of real life. Because here is a truth that no one tells you. What has real value is not waiting for you on a screen. It is in yourself, in your real bonds, in your work that builds something, in your body that you train, in your faith that sustains you. And all this grows exponentially when desire returns to being your servant, not your master. Close with me on this truth that will set you free. Freedom is not doing everything you want when you want. That is disguised slavery. Real freedom is being able to choose consciously without being dragged by instincts like an animal. Plato would say in no uncertain terms, "He who does not control his desires does not govern himself, and he who does not govern himself is not free. He is just a slave who does not perceive the chains." Do you want real freedom? Then practice self-government. Today, now, in whatever way you can, but one full step at a time, without excuses. Before closing, keep these 3 practical and stoic reminders for your week ahead, because philosophy without practice is just pretty talk. First reminder, pre-decide. Don't wait for the impulse to arrive to start thinking about what to do. That's strategic suicide. Take a sheet now. Write down your non-negotiable rules. No screens in the room after a certain time, no infinite scrolling after 10 p.m., mandatory cold shower when the mind starts negotiating and bargaining. A written rule becomes a steel anchor when desire tries to hijack the steering wheel of your life. Second reminder, return to control when you slip. Listen carefully. If you fall, and maybe you will fall, no Hollywood drama, no throwing yourself on the floor crying. That's a waste of time and energy. You get up, close all the tabs without mercy, cold water on your face, 3 deep breaths that fill your chest. Coldly note what knocked you down and move forward like a soldier. The mistake only becomes a chain when it becomes a shameful secret. Whoever really governs their own life admits the mistake, learns quickly and corrects the route without drama. Third reminder, serve something greater than yourself. Plato would call this good, the form of the good. You can call it purpose, faith, family, mission. The name matters less than the clear direction. Here is the secret. Desire automatically becomes small when your life points to something genuinely great. Whoever lives for something greater than himself never trades the future for 10 pathetic minutes of screen time. It is physically impossible. Look, you don't need grandiose speeches or American movie motivation. You need simple practice, repeated every day, silent as breathing. The world will not applaud your discipline. The world will not even notice. But your life will pay heavy dividends. More energy running in your veins, more laser focus, more real presence in the moments that matter, and much less corrosive shame, less mental fatigue, less constant distraction. This is the brutal balance of a chariot perfectly aligned with you in command. If this video stirred something inside you, if you felt that this was made specifically for the moment you are living, subscribe to this channel now, not tomorrow, not later. Now. And leave in the comments a word that marks our philosophy of war, freedom. Write this word and confirm with me. Today, I hold the reins tightly. Tomorrow I repeat the process. The chariot is pointed forward, the path is clear, and you, finally you, are in total command.